All right, guys, welcome back to a really, really exciting episode of the Burgman Broadcast Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Burgman, and today we have Akaila Sack. Akaila and I go back pretty far. I'd say at least 8 years.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. We have a lot of things in common, things that we've created and started together that still live within this community. We're talking about networking event, and just like a lot of similar sort of mindset things and experiences we've had in life. She wrote a really, really incredible biography about herself, something that I can use to provide some context about who she is and how she operates and what has shaped her to be the woman she is today. And I want to read that verbatim because I do think it's really, really impressive. And
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I will say it's the best one we've received so far.
I'm honored.
It is really good. So I'm going to just read it straight exactly how you wrote it and go. So, Akaila Sack is originally from California but moved to Florida in 2000 with her parents and two sisters. She went to UNF in Jacksonville, swoop, and studied business management. Akaila is proficient in print marketing and advertising, relationship building, customer service, and most recently obtained a Society of Human Resources Certified Professional Certificate.
Mouthful.
Over the last 10 years, she has sat on several nonprofit boards, and she's been board of director and was a co-founder of the young professional networking group 321 Millennials. And Akaila lives in South Mel Beach with her husband, Harry, and son, Grayson. It's really well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A lot in there. A lot of things we'll unpack today.
You made me keep it in 100 words.
You're probably like right at 99.
Hard. I think it was definitely 100 on the dot.
You hit it good. There's a lot of things in there we'll talk about. I think we'll definitely dive into the 321 Millennials things.
Yeah, of course.
Your kind of new job, where you've been.
Yeah.
But if you guys are wondering why we have this old-fashioned setup, when I had texted Akaila about being on the show, she was like, yes, but
the only way.
I feel like we need to have old-fashions on the show. And basically, that's why we're going to do it. So we're going to go ahead and make some old fashions, sip some cocktails, and then kind of get a little deep into the background of who you are and what you do.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Start that? All right. So do you know how to make an old fashioned?
I make Harry make them for me, so no.
Is he a... Yeah,
we love our bourbon. I'm so thankful that we are both bourbon people. Because it just wouldn't work if not.
No. I've been jumping into the tequila world a little bit.
I have been very interested in trying to get into tequila cocktails because I feel like when I'm out, that's what I look for if I'm not, feeling bourbon, but we haven't got there yet.
So you can also do a tequila old fashioned.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Basically an old fashioned.
Yeah.
Put tequila in it.
It sounds delicious.
So with this, a traditional way to do the old fashioned.
That's a lot of sugar.
It is not.
Okay.
It's a teaspoon.
All right.
So normally you do a little teaspoon of that.
Okay.
If Harry's watching, maybe he'll be able to correct me. And then it's between 2 and 3 of the dashes of bitters.
Okay.
So we got that. And then what you do is you would normally kind of muddle it. We don't really need to do that because
nope, we'll be fine.
There's not. This is a really old. I have not drank out of this, but this
That's
is
fine.
the most traditional way to do an old fashioned. You just put a little bit of water in there.
Okay.
Just to kind of help dilute.
I've never seen that before.
And also break up the sugar, and then the bitters. And we'll do. I actually brought my little.
I know. I'm impressed. Your whole cooler was packed, ready to go.
It was. I'm gonna just stir it, kind of get that sugar dissolved a little bit.
It's gonna be delicious. I don't know if we've had this one.
That's a good one. I imagine you did not drink old fashions, or you probably did not have good bourbon in college.
I don't think anything in college was good. It was ugh.
Do you remember what your go-to drink was?
I will never drink rum because of college. I can tell you that much. Ugh, honestly, it gives me just
rum?
Queasy feeling. Yeah, no, I'll never drink rum again. And just really cheap vodka.
Yeah.
The plastic bottles, just terrible, terrible hangover.
My hands are clean.
That's fine.
These are clean. I just washed them.
I trust you. You're good. I didn't see anything.
So nice clear ice on there, and then we're going to pour some of this guy in here. So typically with an old fashioned, a higher proof, so this is a 95 proof, is going to just perform a little bit better. And then if you can, I'm measuring this out too. This is 2 ounces.
Perfect.
That's
exactly 2.
Yeah. Some people like 1.5 ounces. Some people like 2 ounces.
That's wonderful. I appreciate you.
And then this is a whole on thing.
I know. You brought the spoon.
This is
figured we'd be using our fingers.
My pen?
Yeah.
What is the
that beautiful pen?
With the sounds ASMR? Or,
yes, yeah.
I feel like this might be a good ASMR.
You can start an OnlyFans page, make some money.
People do other things on OnlyFans?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I've never been on there.
I don't know
truly
anything
never been
about it. I really don't.
I've never been on there. All right. Last but not least,
the orange peel.
The orange peel. So
one of the most important parts.
It's the most important,
in my opinion.
So we're gonna express the oils a little bit. Look at that.
I feel like I like the word express less now.
Yeah. I'm going to extract the oils on this one.
It's like moist.
Yeah, gonna get that moistness out of there. Which one you want?
Well done. That one.
This one is yours.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Let's see.
Ooh, it's fantastic.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right,
pretty good for a little cooler old fashioned.
And it's 5 o'clock.
Yep.
We're filming this at 5 o'clock on a Friday.
Course,
so
always.
we do these on Fridays. Why not? So let's just jump straight into it.
Okay.
I was trying to think about how we initially met, and I know it had to be some way in the context of 321 Millennials or even before. I want to say Russ Wood, maybe?
It was Russ, yeah, because I knew him from Rock, Paper, Simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those of you that do not know, so we started a nonprofit networking organization back in 2015 is kind of when everything started. Russ, I knew Russ through my wife, who knew Russ's wife, Jenna. Because Jenna and Rebecca worked together at Space Coast Living. So then Russ and I would hang out, and this is all, again, a hot dog cart thing. So like Russ helped me with some of the branding on that. And so we were talking, and it was one of those things like Russ and I were like, hey, you know, we kind of want to start like a group or networking group. And without like going way too into the depth of that, it was one of those things like Russ and I just had like good ideas, but like execution, I think we would have failed pretty horribly at. And so he was pretty quick to like drop your name, like, oh no, Akaila would be great at this. Yeah. Like she's organized, she can like get shit done. Strap it. And I was like, I don't know who this person is, but
but sounds great.
It sounds great. We need Akaila. And then we met, and then you literally like I would say you are the reason why 321 Millennials ever got off the ground.
Thank you.
And I don't know how Russ had that conversation with you about it.
Yeah, and then
do you remember what that was like, or?
Well, I think it was just really great timing. So how did you bring Gary in originally? Right?
Yes, I feel like Russ brought in Akaila.
Okay.
And then I was like, I got to bring someone in, and it's like, my bro is Gary. Yeah. And I don't know what he could bring to the table, but
I'm bringing him with me.
He's the hype at the end of the day. Yeah. So it was the four of us. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the conversation with Russ was just at a really good time. I had started sales with, no real training, no real guidance. And I was invited to a networking group, and it was just this expectation of passing leads and business cards, and it was so formal and so uncomfortable, and there was nothing for young professionals. Everyone was, 30 years older than me, which is completely fine. Yeah. We have things to learn from every generation. Right. But there was just not as many people to connect with, especially on a personal level. So I think it was just really great timing.
So you were part of so when we say traditional networking organizations, so like chambers.
Yeah, I was in a B2B group to start with. Yeah. I was in a leads group. What's the one that is like really strict?
BNI?
BNI. I would never do a BNI. So I love very respectable. But it's just so much pressure. Like, no, I don't know anyone
there's like a quota on leads or referrals, right?
There is, and I know the chamber networking groups, tried to follow that format, and some were more strict, but I was like, no, I don't know anyone who needs insurance today, and even if I give them your name, I just met you, so the whole thing was just really hard for me to understand and be super comfortable with, and so I think establishing 321 Millennials was really a pivotal point for all of us, you know?
Yeah, and so for me, it's like I had no real previous networking experience.
Yeah, you just knew you didn't like what was out there.
Dude, and it was fast because it was like, so transition out of the military in 2015, the year you're transitioning out, the military is trying to incorporate you into the civilian world, and so they're teaching you about how to dress and how to do a tie and wear slacks.
So interesting.
And so it's called TAPS. It's called Transition Assistance Program, I believe is what it used to be called. I think they've changed the name.
Okay.
But so you go through this week-long course, and most guys go through it twice. They go through it when they're 12 months out and then 3 or 6 months out.
Wow.
So you go through this, you literally learn how to write a resume, how to conduct an interview, how to dress, and then they teach you about how to network. And
what organizations are available for you in the community?
Yeah, they're plugging the chambers and all these other things, and they're telling you how you should network. And it was just you go to these events and you give out your business cards.
Make sure you have your business cards.
And you just have conversations.
Keep your Rolodex going.
Yeah, keep it up. And I was like, oh man, this seems like really, really cool. And so I remember like doing one and I was like, this is fucking terrible.
It's not
like,
great.
No, it's like the quality. Like I was used to like this really like quality relationships of people that were like not based on needing you as a service
surface level.
Yeah, and then you go into this networking world, and it's like no one really cares about like who you are, or what you do, what you did before.
Yeah,
it's just like, can you help me get to where I need to be? And I hated it. So it's like it's so interesting to hear that we were both at like the same points in our lives.
Yeah, it was just timing for sure.
Timing was great on that. So like the idea of basically creating a networking event where we went in there, and it was always personalities and relationships first.
Yeah, it was business second. Did business evolve and relationships evolve. Like it is so cool to reflect back to just see who's gotten married and who works for who now, and you know where everyone is. It is an incredible network of people and just really amazing individuals.
And it's amazing because like now you and I are both. So we were in it for about 5 years.
5-6 years, like heavily all the time. It was a second job. Dude. For sure.
It was a lot. And like both of us now, like, you know, we're parents and we've got kids. Yeah. And it's like thinking about now, like how much time we devoted to that. Like it's crazy to think about, but it's like I think it's why it's still sustainable today.
Yeah.
And there's other people that have tried to do these networking organizations, and then what happens is as soon as they extract themselves out of the equation, like it pretty much fails.
Yeah, I know. It is really awesome, and it's so great that even some of the, you know, mostly some of the people that were joining when we were there are now board members and leading the group and just really, you know, keeping the consistency of it.
And then, so have you been involved in it all, or have you like fully removed?
I just, for the last few years, haven't needed to network. And so part of that, plus becoming a mom, plus just the little amount of free time you get is, you know, really the main reason that I haven't been involved. I did go to a meeting maybe last year at Helen Blazes, and it's great. It's just a wonderful group of people. Yeah. It really is.
It kind of feels like it's more social. Like, instead of like going in there with an agenda, like, you know, whose business card am I going to get today, or what am I going to get? It's like these are friends. Like we've cultivated a platform for people to just like find people that would have had a really hard time meeting each other in the first place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think we would have ever met probably.
Absolutely. Probably not. We're like opposite ends of the county, completely different interests.
We literally couldn't be further.
Like I specifically moved to the north end of the county to get away from you guys. But so we spent a lot of time, like the four of us. So it's you, Russ, and then Gary and myself. A lot of time like getting that group to where it is today. So really, really proud of that. And it's also interesting, like you had mentioned earlier, so some of the relationships that formed in that. So specifically speaking about Gary. Yeah. You know, now you have this new position with Gary and the company MEC. Yeah. Like, can you talk about that? Because that's pretty fresh.
Yeah. So I've been I left digital graphics data management after almost 11 years. So that was it was a really emotional time just making that decision, you know, to leave what I've always done. But Gary has tried to hire me a couple times, you know, throughout the last, 8 years. And, I had recently taken that HR exam, passed that, and just realized that I want to pursue HR. It's really taken me 10 years to like figure out where in the business world I want to be, what department, and studying for that exam kind of really solidified that. And thankfully I was able to, get, the 3 years experience with data management while I was still selling the print.
So you had said you really wanted to like pursue HR, and I don't know if I've ever. I mean, maybe I don't know enough about HR to understand like why anyone would ever say that.
So I would have never guessed this for myself.
It doesn't seem like that sexy of a thing.
It isn't very sexy at all. Yeah. But I think I, was kind of over the external networking, right? Like the external business, the clients, just the client facing. And with HR, it's internal facing. And you are making sure that your employees are enjoying their time there. They're happy about their employment. And you are part of the reason why you retain employees. I think
you're, as HR, it's like building the culture.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's, about listening to their needs, hearing their needs. And And another aspect that I had no idea I'd be so interested in is insurance. Like for some reason, I understand insurance now, and I just want to help our employees, pick the best plan or answer any questions or just, reduce the confusion around it because it is just.
I have no idea.
I had no idea either. I never, before stepping into HR, really utilized my insurance besides when I had Grayson.
Yeah.
And so it was just this thing that I enrolled in and put it to the side and, I'd do my preventative exams, whatever, and that was it. And now I just have so much more of an understanding of all the different options, and it's just fun to be the person who can explain that to the employees and just reduce the confusion for them.
And whenever I think of HR, I also think of like older people.
Yeah.
Like I don't think about like some young, hip trendster just
I know.
coming in and then you're our HR director. Like
I know. I think it's definitely different. I haven't really networked with a bunch of human resources individuals yet, so I really only know what I know. But it's been fun being at MEC so far. I'm really excited. It's, twice the size of my past company. So obviously, we were about 60 employees and now MEC has 120.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Holy
they are.
shit.
Yeah, Gary is crushing it.
I see the MEC is like responsible for building, I want to say like every Wawa in the county, or at least 90-something % of them.
a lot of Wawas.
The Publix around the corner where I live.
Just getting into Publix.
I
know you were talking about that.
Land,
yeah. So that's like a big one for them to hopefully, if they do a good job, they'll hopefully get more Publix.
The daycare, the Pineapple Cove, or one they just dropped.
Established an Orlando office. They have people working all over this state. And
so are you doing both Orlando and Melbourne, or is there a separate?
So we have a director of HR. Okay. I'm under her. So I am working under their director, and she's out of the Orlando office, and I'm out of the Melbourne office. So we're kind of tag teaming it a little bit.
I had no clue. Like I'm thinking MEC was.
So it sounds, from my understanding, they were, maybe 60, 80 employees. And then within the last year, they've just grown so much. And what is respectable is, they were such a small company. And so what they're trying to do now is, they hired a director of finance, a director of HR. They brought me on. They're really just trying to establish their processes and procedures so they can grow appropriately and, just the right way rather than growing too quickly and not having their things set in place. Yeah, it's impressive what Gary said.
Yeah.
It's really funny, actually. People think of him, and he is the president of the company, but I just have such a different experience with Gary and, but so much respect for the company that him and his brother and his cousin have built for sure. It's really great.
It's crazy. I mean, because it's like, again, like even dating back, and I've known Gary just as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
But Gary went to high school with my wife. And that's how I met Gary initially, because we went to a networking event.
Titusville, Rockledge, where'd they go?
Titusville,
okay.
Like literally, my mother-in-law taught Gary in school. little Gary. But so we did a networking event for my wife for her thing, and I was still in the military. Okay. And I remember like going to that event, and I'm like, well, I don't need to talk to these people. I have no interest. In
Like I'll never be friends with these people.
I was literally like at the bar.
Yeah.
And Gary,
if anyone wants to talk to me, they can come to me.
And talk to me. And Gary came up and was chatting with me, and our first conversation was kind of like, we thought we were both joking around. Because he was like, oh man, he's like, I used to be a rapper. And I was like, me too.
Oh my God, this is my favorite quality of both of you.
He's like, oh yeah, man. He's like, what was your stage name? And I was like, oh, they call me B Nasty. And he's like, I was Confetti. And I was like, yeah, we should start a rap group. And then he's like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, are you? He's like, yeah. I was like, get the fuck out of here. And we're tight ever since that. And then, just a good dude. And it's amazing. This is like fast forward 8 years isn't really like a long time, but it's not really that.
I know. It's crazy how fast it's gone. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that you're there with them.
Yeah.
Because they need you.
It's definitely really, really exciting. And I'm happy to kind of, make it my home. Like my work home.
Yeah. And some of the other things, so you like grazed over the fact that like Grayson's your son. Yeah. And how old is Grayson now?
He's 3.
So Grayson's 3. Mm-hmm. And in some of the notes that we took here, like we talked about it also before the show about like being a relatively like new mother, and how like things in your life have changed, how you've had to make like really difficult decisions to say, no, I'm not going to.
The no's were hard.
The no's are hard. And I imagine going into an environment like MEC where Gary is a father, he's got younger children as well. And I imagine the culture there, is that something that also helped kind of sway your decision knowing that you're now a parent and you have a child?
Absolutely. Well, so Harry works for Gary. I don't know if you know that.
No.
So Harry was recruited by Gary maybe 6 months ago.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So my husband and I work for the same company, which is really funny. And they actually have quite a few couples who work there. But the comparison of his past company and what I saw is they really are so family focused.
Yeah.
They want you to get your work done. They're not going to micromanage you until you need to be micromanaged. And so I was able to see Harry's experience, and I know Gary and I know the way he, and I've always just admired, the company that he wants to have and how family oriented they are. And Joe and Mitch are the same way. And so really I was able to watch Harry experience that and have the freedom to work from home if Grayson's sick, because really prior to him working at MEC, I mean, it really all fell on me. And I work full time and I've always been in the office. And so it's been so refreshing, for Harry to also have that support.
So what do you mean, like, all fell on you as far as being like the parent?
Yeah, well, just staying home if Grayson's sick. Harry just previously didn't have the flexibility.
You didn't have an option. Like,
right,
Harry had to go to work and you had to stay at home.
Yeah. So now it's just so nice that they have, they accept it, they understand it, they get things happen. And as long as you get your work done, they'll be happy with you. And so that was definitely a huge shift for me. I mean, I had a lot of flexibility at my past company, no doubt. But yeah, so that was definitely a plus.
That's just like an additional bonus to it.
Yeah.
And like maybe we'll go down the parenting leg here a little bit. So you guys are you and Harry both work full time.
Yes.
You have a 3-year-old.
Yes.
So he's in daycare?
Yes.
And what does that life look like as a working parent in your early 30s-ish with a toddler? Like give us a day rundown.
It's tough. He can't get to school before 8. And so that's just, the earliest. So we recently switched him and he started at the Melbourne Beach preschool over there, just so it's a little more convenient. Previously, he was going further and it was just out of both of our ways. Yeah, it was terrible. But we loved them. They loved him. And it was, I think he started there around like 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was early. And then, so he's at the new school, absolutely loves it, has to be picked up by 3. And so that is just an incredibly, it's tough for sure on both of us. It's like who picks him up, who has their day cut short, who has to work try to work from home with him in the afternoons. Yeah, so it's definitely a challenge. And I think, kind of talking about the guilt, like I feel bad that he's in daycare. I see so many moms who are choosing and, maybe giving up the right to work in order to stay home and giving up that additional income. And I've basically, we went back and forth and I just chose to work, and I think that makes me happier and it makes me a better mom.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like anyone listening to this.
But the guilt is just so incredible. Like I feel bad that, someone else is raising my child, at 1 year old and even 3. And, I wish he was in daycare less. And I just feel like parenting and working is just this like constant guilt.
Yeah.
For me. And I need to let go of it, but I just, harbor it in here.
Harbor it in. Do you think Harry has guilt? Same amount as you, or like different?
Yeah. His hours are longer for sure. Just, being a PM in construction, thankfully, we work for the same company, but we do not interact at all.
Yeah, completely different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. He sent me a PTO request and I denied it, that's been the extent of, our communication like at work. But I know it is hard for him. His position is just a lot more demanding because he has, owners to talk to. And I'm just, either recruiting, which is mainly what Gary hired me for, or, talking to people internally. So it's just, it's a different role. And I know he struggles with that. He'd love to see Grayson more. And so it's just hard, it's like, bring home the money or, stay home with our son. And, I struggle with our choices, but it's what we're deciding to do right now. And so it is what it is, and Grayson loves his school. So I just have to like honor that a little bit and just be proud of that.
No, I mean, I feel like anyone listening to this, like they're like, yeah, if they're a parent, they're like, we all like deal with levels of guilt and like shoulda, woulda, coulda. And like, is this the right choice? But like, if I take a step back and I was like, there's no fucking way that I'd be a stay-at-home dad. I don't have the patience.
The moms who do it because I cannot
fathom if like I love my sons.
Of course.
But in like small little amounts.
And I think
like,
part
of time.
of the guilt is right now at this moment. And I think part of the guilt is, we get home at 3, 5 o'clock, and we only have a couple hours with him. And so that, I think, it's like make dinner, bath, brush teeth, like we go to bed. And so it's just this like quick routine. And I just feel bad that that's like the amount of time that we get with him in the day.
But then we still have weekends, and I know you guys are doing trips. One of the things you'd mentioned here, like you want to take him out of the country for the first time this year. You are?
Yeah, at the end of May, we're taking him to Costa Rica. So we're super pumped.
A little surf trip?
Yeah, a little surf trip. We're kind of sad, it took us this long because Harry, has been an avid traveler, and he's really the reason I have a passport and the reason I've gone out of the country at all. And so, we're really, really excited to bring him to Costa Rica.
So we've taken our boys on one flight, and it was from Melbourne to Atlanta, which is a full hour and 3 minutes, but it felt like 9 hours. So and that was awful. I remember bringing both our car seats.
Well, you had 2 kids, so that's like we're traveling with one, and so that is a difference.
But so how long is that flight to Costa Rica?
I think it's about 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay, so still not that bad. Mm-hmm. But what do you guys like? How do you keep Grayson from just destroying the entire experience from everyone on board?
I've flown with him solo a bunch,
but have you flown out west with him solo?
To California. So
and that's a 6-hour
I have
disaster.
So many thoughts. So me and
that's a lot of alcohol, I'm sure.
Yeah, my sisters and I did a trip to California because that's where we're from. We have a lot of family out there. So we brought Grayson and then my niece, who was also 1 at the time. So it was 3 sisters, 2 1-year-olds, and it was an absolute shit show. We had to drive a bunch to like see all of our family, up and down California. And so I think the flight home before even the plane was fully boarded, Grayson was fucking over it by then. Losing his shit, yeah. Starts absolutely losing it. And then I'm crying because I've had enough. I've been trying to keep it together, for everyone this entire trip. And I just it was just so much. I think now it's a little easier because I could probably just give him my phone and put on a show and, but he is strong and independent and just wants to do whatever the fuck he wants to do when he wants to do it, so it's tough. It's just a juggle. Let's bring toys. Let's bring, screen time, food. Lots of snacks. Lots of snacks.
An entire suitcase of snacks.
An entire carry-on of snacks. Absolutely.
So is that so if I was like, Akaila, I'm about to fly with my kids. I need some hacks.
Snacks.
Are there better snacks than others, things that are more sustainable?
Maybe just not something super messy.
Okay. Like chocolate, melted chocolate is good?
Oh my God, not melted chocolate. But yeah, it's just kind of a balance, and I think what was hard for me in the beginning is just knowing that this baby's crying and pissing other people off. But then I just let that go because it is what it is. And I've been on planes with crying babies, and it is what it is.
But I remember
so you just have to
pre-kids flying. Yeah, and I remember even in restaurants.
Oh, these babies.
Shut that baby up.
Please.
Such an asshole.
Yeah, it's so rude.
It is so rude. And now it's I have so much more empathy and compassion for these parents. It's damn, dude, I know the struggle. And
it's terrible.
I don't want to be it'll get better.
Yeah, I know.
Hang in there, bud.
And it's just so stressful. And I think, just forget about anyone else. Just make your baby happy however you can.
Well, I think most of the people on the plane probably understand. You're always going to have those jerks that are oh my gosh, you're ruining my
really
experience.
Don't understand and never will and never care to, which is unfortunate. I think
there is a faux pas in flying though with kids. You're not supposed to bring them in first class. I feel that's
I've never flown first class, so I have no idea.
In your life?
Yeah. I'm waiting for Harry to book our flight first
dude,
class.
Dude, Harry, my guy. Harry, my dude. I was just chatting with, so my sales partner, Austin?
I don't.
So Austin's the young buck on the team. He's in his young 20s, but he's
Good for him.
He's an 18-year-old, 23, 4-year-old.
Okay.
And so he's at
most men are. So.
Most men are. He's a young guy. He's awesome, great person, great soul. Yeah. And he's at the airport right now. Okay. And he's flying out to Salt Lake City, but missed his flight.
Oh,
and he's texting us on the group that he's I missed my flight. He's the lines at Orlando security are out of control. And I was like, you're not TSA Pre-check?
Well, they even have the Orlando Reserve now. You don't have to have TSA or anything.
Someone else dropped that. You can put your security reserve on there. And he's I thought TSA Pre-check was random. And I was you bro.
Oh, honey,
I was my I was like, listen up, toddler. And so I sent him the link to fill for pre-check and then also apply for clear.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, and also Adam, and I was going to go on this trip with him to Salt Lake City. Oh. And I was like, dude, if I had went with you, I'd already be on the mountain snowboarding right now. And I was like, sucked. In the future, if you and I ever fly together, here are the baseline rules. TSA pre-check or clear. We're only flying Delta first class.
That's good for you.
Period. And he was just like, all right. And I was like, all right. When a toddler becomes a boy. But like the fact that he didn't understand it, like the pre-check.
So do you not bring kids in first class? Is that a real thing?
I have once.
Oh. Okay.
And it was at Atlanta Lake.
Okay.
And only because like in first class it's 2 and 2. Mm-hmm. And so I just booked all 4 seats. You could have, yeah. And then we had Rebecca over here on this side. And then I was chilling over here.
With the more difficult child, I'm sure.
I definitely took the easier one.
Yeah. I feel like that's
But they like trade off, you know? It's like now Eli, our little dude, yeah.
Bless your soul.
Like, so Eli is our young buck. He's a savage. Like, he's very strong. He weighs, he's like 35 pounds and he's 2 years old.
That's how, well, okay, I will say Grayson was like 33 pounds at 2
Grayson
and is
was
still 35 pounds. Like, he really hasn't grown much weight in the last year and a half, at all. I don't know why. I think he's just leaning out, like just
stretching out a little bit. But Ethan, our 4-year-old, he's like 35, 37 pounds. So our 2 and 4-year-old weigh about the same.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And so like I couldn't imagine like the logistics of how we would do it. Because I still remember to this day like carrying. Did you bring your car seats with you when you guys travel?
Yes. You just like roll through the airport. Yeah. Just like with the stroller, the car seat, the luggage. I mean, and I think when my sisters and I went to California, like our luggage was too high. So we ended too heavy. And so we ended up just like paying so much more money because of all the fucking baby shit you have to pack. At the time they were drinking out of bottles.
Yeah. So you bring all the
wipes
stuff,
and just like all the diapers. And I'm just so thankful to be past that.
Even on like a staycation, like going to Orlando, which
it's hard. Just to go to the beach, you have so much more stuff, like we had to get a golf cart because we couldn't walk our 3 minutes. We have a 3-minute walk to the beach, and we're like, we need a golf cart. Like, it's all loaded up. Too much shit.
You probably still walk to the beach with Grayson, and then Harry just carts.
That is Harry's job. Go set up the beach, bring everything for us. Yeah, but it's really funny. He wasn't here the other day, and my sister and I did it. So my sister's living with us now, the youngest one.
Okay, I've met her.
Grace, and we had to like get everything ready, and we're like, man, we have so much respect for Harry for like just doing all of this without complaining and like doing it all so well.
There's a lot going on with kids.
It is,
moving out of that, but also kind of staying in the same thought process. So like about the networking events, how it was like earlier, it said like it's one of those things like you don't have to do anymore. But by making the decisions of either like right now, time is limited, right? You're working full time, you get home, you have to make the decision, am I going to spend it with my family or am I going to spend it with these people, like as in friends?
Yeah.
And so making those choices, I think, are challenging. I would say most of the time I'm choosing to stay with the family, but I do think there are instances where like as young adults, as parents, like we still need that time to sort of like, whether it's vent or like also get interaction with other people. Like, so are you finding yourself making those choices as well?
Yeah, I think that was actually one of the biggest things that I struggled with because I was so involved in the community and I, made so many wonderful connections through 321 Millennials and just the other, groups and boards that I sat on. And I think once I had Grayson, then COVID hit and everyone kind of went into like hermit crab,
Zoom.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many Zoom meetings. It was awful. And I actually had to get off Facebook because the amount of invites that I was getting for just grand openings still and different, baby showers or engagements, I was just feeling so overwhelmed for just needing to say no at that time of my life that I literally got off Facebook for a while because I just like, if I see one more event come my way that I know I'm not going to go to, like it was just like an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, time is so limited now. And, my parents live here. My 2 sisters live here. One of my sister has 2 kids. And so my weekends and my free time are them and, my best friends. I have, friends all over Florida. I have a friend in DC. And so I'm either constantly visiting them. They're coming to see me. I'm flying to go see them. And so just the amount of time that I used to have isn't there. No. And it really weighed very heavily on me for a long time. And I think it was maybe a year ago where I was like, you know what? It's okay that I'm choosing my family and, you know, my close friends at this time. And hopefully, you know, in the future, I'll have the time and I guess the mental capacity to, you know, get back out there. But it was really hard for me. And I don't know why. I felt like I was letting people down.
Yep,
I felt like, and I also think, you know, I did network so much, and I think people see me as like an extrovert. But what really fills my cup is like being at home, cleaning my house, being with Grayson, just like making sure my space is good. That is what like makes me mentally well.
Yeah. And you said exercising too. Like, so I remember reading about that on there. And it's one of those things I feel like I struggle with Rebecca, because like I'm very routine. And, you know, it's like, for a long time, like even when both our boys were littles, like stroller little, I would incorporate them into my runs in the morning. And it got to a point where I was so regimented about making sure that I was up at 5 and I was at least on the road by 5:45 getting my miles in. And it got to a point where it was like, I wasn't always able to do that. And then like,
and that's hard for you.
It fucked with me because I'm like out of my routine and like it throws my whole day off. And it was hard to kind of find that structure with it. But then I had to kind of like take a step back and realize like, if I'm not the one watching our kids, like who is? It's Rebecca. Yeah. So I'm like putting so much more on her, and she, just like you, full time, like still working.
I know.
You know, so it was one of those things I had to realize, like structure's important, but it's like I have to like be free a little bit and be able to kind of move in and out. And so Rebecca and I like almost like break our days up, like what days I'm doing this and what days she's gonna do that, and who, you know, it's like this whole like level of communication.
It's a dance. It is, and because I'm also very structured and I'm very, you know, consistent and I like to plan things. And so just, I think having Grayson in general has humbled me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think I'm still learning how to just pull back that like regimented, you know, thought of, you know, because some mornings, you know, I typically wake up at 5 to exercise, and I, you know, have this little workout room that's probably smaller than this room.
It's awesome.
It's legit.
It's like perfect what you needed.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There's a mirror and everything in it.
It is mirrored out. I got my treadmill. I got everything I need. But some mornings, Grayson is an early freaking riser.
How early?
Sometimes I hear him. He opens because so the workout room is accessible via the garage, and it's like it's air conditioning and everything. But when I hear that door slam, I know Grayson's coming into the workout room with me. And I mean, I'll see him at 5:30 sometimes.
Oh, no. Go back to bed, bro.
It's just wants to hang out with mom, like, you know. And so I roll out a little mat for him, and that's like his workout mat. And he'll, you know, watch something on my phone or something, let me finish. But yeah, it's hard, you know, because I just, you know, got to exercise, I think, for my mental and just like physical well-being.
Well, you had mentioned in here about like filling up your cups. So, like, and that was something that like I had to understand too. It's like, so I recognize the days that I'm like not going through like my meditation and stretching and like the workout, like this long, lengthy.
Sounds very time consuming.
There's so much. That's why I got to keep waking up like really earlier
like,
and
so
earlier.
It's 3 a.m. and I'm ready
I'm up,
to go.
man, doing it. But it was like, I realized like if I wasn't able to like fill my cup up per se and like be the best version
then
of myself, I can't do it for them.
Yeah.
So like I find a lot of like being selfish, like I think is really, really important, because without it, you're not able to like be there for your family. And that's what's most important.
Yes, exactly. And I think doing the things that fills your cup is going to make you a better parent. And that is what I try to like focus on at this point.
Are you and Harry doing things without Grayson?
Yeah, I mean, we'll you know,
trips,
still have date night. Definitely
okay.
Trips. You know, thankfully I have my family here, and now that we have my new roommate Grace, she's been, you know, really crucial to giving us a little bit of time here and there. So yeah, I think it's so important.
Yeah. And we struggle a little bit with that because we only have really like 2 options when it comes to like, we had our nanny.
It's hard.
And then she went back in the workforce, and then my mother-in-law who can help, but it's now it's 2 of them, and it's like bedtime routine's a little like, but Rebecca always wants to be there for the bedtime routine too. That's one of those things. Like we were in Tampa a couple weekends ago and like went to this party. And then we left the party after an hour to come back to make sure we did bedtime with the kids.
And then you went back to the party?
No, we actually stayed.
Oh.
But it was like the best decision.
This sounds better.
Well, no, we were like, we went to the party for like an hour.
morning.
No, we're not. Dude, those animals stayed out till like 3 a.m. and we woke up early. We're able to like go and
that
dude,
anymore.
No,
it's not
wasn't
worth
hungover.
it.
They were awful. They were in such a bad place, and I was like, dude, I feel great. Like we're gonna go. You guys want to go hang out, get some breakfast, then we'll do some lunch, then we'll go work out.
Yeah, and they're like, nope.
It's like we're still sleeping.
Yeah, no, and I think that's, you know, the other thing. I think we've tried a couple times to like party and, you know, wake up. Gosh. But it's not fair to them, because you're tired, like, and you don't want to do anything.
This or,
and then,
you're such a shitty parent that day, and then like talk about guilt.
So shitty about it.
You're just like,
so we just it's just not worth it, you know, unless he's not there, then it's just not worth it at all.
No.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's I definitely don't drink. I really don't drink a lot. I mean, it's
yeah,
funny,
we don't drink during the week.
On this, I will drink during the week. I think like wine, but like the level of drinking that used to go on, like
just
severely went down. And also like once you're more like, you know, I'm getting older and like I have to be a lot more conscious of like the things I'm bringing into my body. Otherwise it's going to affect me for like days. Like I'll be hungover for days if I'm drinking like I used to drink.
Absolutely.
In my
just
20s.
like the dehydration. I just can't
but it's also like
it
always comes back to like I just don't want to be like that shitty parent that's just like not able to really
sitting
be there
on the couch
because they're boys,
like,
man. They want to play, they want to get rough, and they're like they got so much energy.
I can't even imagine 2 boys. Like I admire.
They're great most of the time. Of course, they have their attitudes, but like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys get this, but like we're at that point where it's like people are like, when are you gonna shoot for the girl or try for the girl?
Yeah, you know, we at the end of last year, you know, I think through, you know, after having Grayson, I have 2 sisters, he has a sister. I think we just assumed, you know, we would have another. But at this moment, we just want to have Grayson.
Yeah.
I know that I would have to pull back again and go on maternity leave and like pull back my time, especially if I wanted to, you know, keep him or her out of daycare for that first year. Like it puts so much, I feel like, on the moms, you know, most of the time. Yeah. And I really struggled with those thoughts, and I think we just decided, and I think there's so much pressure on the age gap. Like everyone's like, oh my gosh, keep them between 2 or 3 years old or 1, you know, if you're really crazy, you have them back-to-back, Irish twins, which incredible. And I admire, you know, the moms who want to do that and do that. But it just, I think just mentally, I can only handle Grayson right now. And in 5 years, if we change our mind, then like Grayson's going to be the like most awesome 8-year-old brother. Yeah. And that's kind of like where we're at now. But we definitely
might work out better because then he'll be mature enough to like help out.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, what happens? You know, I think traveling, we didn't get to travel a ton, you know, together before we had Grayson. And so I just think the thought of being able to travel a little bit easier. Grayson is like super cruisy for the most part. Yeah.
He's still 3.
He's definitely still very much 3. So yeah, so I think it's just like, let's just live a little bit, work a little bit, and then, you know, if something happens in the future, then it does. But right now, we're just
plans. No, I mean, that's, we like go back and forth, but again, like we're pushing in our 40s. And
for a third? Like, hot damn.
I like the idea of it, but here's what I know is going to happen, and I'll say it today.
Then you're like outnumbered.
But you know, I love the parents who are like, man, the more you have, the easier it is. And I was like,
is it?
That's not fucking possible.
I trust you. I trust them.
But it's like the idea is like when your kids get older, they can start kind of watching. And I'm seeing that now with Ethan and Eli.
And also being able to play each other.
And they'll go in their room, do their own thing. Like they're getting in the shit. They're like, Ethan's like, oh, Eli, do this. Like trying to, like he's, and Eli is just like.
Eli knows that he should be doing that. That's
and,
so
dude,
funny.
It's the dynamic is amazing. So I can see how when they're older, they're self, sufficient.
Yeah, and that's actually something also that like the guilt sets in. Like we're not going to reproduce this other human for Grayson to play with. And when we travel, you know, I mean, I think we'll end up traveling a lot with my sister and, you know, my brother-in-law. And so he will have kids. But when we do have the solo trips, like it's just us 3. Yeah. And I have, you know, seen other siblings on planes before. And I'm like, man, like Grayson might not get that. Yeah. And I think that's okay. But it's definitely a thought that I never thought I would have, just coming from a family of 2 sisters, you know, like I just assumed that I would give my child siblings. But,
multiples, yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's hard. You know, it's not for everyone. I know plenty of people that have the one and they're like, I'm content. And then those very wild people out there to have more than 3. Burns, how many kids? Chris Burns has like 4 kids.
Really?
Yeah, 3 daughters and then a new little guy.
And that's so fun. Like I can imagine just like the, you know, incredible chaos it is.
It is controlled chaos.
I don't like chaos.
But I think at a certain point with that many kids, you just got to be like, fuck it. It's over. Like life's over. I'm just going to be constantly like disheveled and my house is a mess.
Yeah.
And does your house, Nolan, pretty, like, I imagine you run a tight operation over there?
I do, and I'm working.
We went over there right now. Is it a disaster zone?
No, it's beautiful. Oh, okay. Like it's clean. Like that's part of the thing that fills my cup. Like okay. my house has to be tidy, or else like I just mentally am like disheveled for some reason, and I don't know, why that is, but
it's like an OCD. I think,
I think so.
It's like not in a bad way. Like it's one of those
a touch.
one of those things that got to make sure that that's in order, because like you have control over that world.
Yeah, exactly.
No, really good parenting stuff. It's cool because we've never really had these conversations about like being parents.
It's been like COVID hit. I had a baby, you had your second baby, and I think it's really just been a long time since like you and I have really talked or connected. So it's very cool.
I want to say it was the last time was it at your house?
Yeah, at the baby shower. And like I barely got to see you.
That was your old house.
Yeah, the rental. Mm-hmm.
Holy shit! Yeah, because you guys built a new place. And
it's still a work in progress, but we absolutely love being down there.
Yeah. That's a cool area in the county, Melbourne Beach. It's not really my cup of tea, my speed.
I know it's not.
And I know like we've talked about that.
Yeah, you're like, fuck Melbourne Beach. We're like, I love Melbourne Beach.
No, I mean, I think it makes sense for all the things you guys like to do and appreciate. And it's like, just to me, it's like so far and landlocked.
That's what we love. Yeah. Like we love how it's just residential. Like,
there's no one traveling down there
unlike
for
the
leisure.
North Melbourne Beach or Indialantic or Satellite, where it's just like so hectic and so, commercialized, I guess.
Yeah.
South Melbourne Beach there's just homes, and it is so quiet and so lovely. The only thing that gets me through living there is the Publix right there. Like if I didn't
you're that far down there.
We're south of the Publix.
That's like Sebastian.
It's
dude.
basically the inlet. No, it's pretty far.
Yeah, holy smokes.
Yeah, but again, like it's a beautiful drive unless you get stuck behind an asshole.
A private jet to get up here today? Or like what did you do?
It took me 20 minutes to get here.
That's not bad.
No, it's not. And again, like it's once you're there, like we're homebodies on the weekends.
Yeah.
We go to the beach, we go to the park, we're just,
You're not shooting to Orlando. No.
Unless I'm going to see my friend in Orlando, you know.
Have you taken Grayson to Disney or any of that stuff yet?
We haven't.
Okay.
For one, I feel like it's so pricey for, but we will. And like, we won't be pass holders, I can tell you that much. But we will take him because he deserves to go to Disney, and that is why we will take him.
That's a fun experience, like but as long as he can like remember it and engage and I think 3 and 2 like too young, like 4 is.
Yeah, I definitely think we'd probably wait a little bit, but we will definitely go.
Yeah.
He deserves to go to Disney, and I think he would just like absolutely love the shit out of it.
See, we're like doing Orlando probably 2-3 times a month.
I admire you guys. You're really like traveling. I've seen you guys in the Sanford area and just kind of around town. Yeah.
Take them to Lake Lanier in Georgia.
Yeah.
My big like goal is to like get some like camping. Like it was last year or the year before. And when I say camping, like I'm very primitive.
Yeah.
Where like imagine Rebecca and I like these are conversations she and I have, like camping. She's like, well, we'll define camping. Tent, find the biggest root, that's my pillow, and I'm thinking moccasins. And she's like,
what kind of bed are we going to have?
She's like, no.
How am I going to wash my hands?
She wants like full-on glamping.
Yes.
And so we're trying to find this compromise where Disney actually has a good solution to that.
Okay.
But like something else I've looked into, and it was last year, I believe, I flew to Georgia to look at this site that had, it was like primitive camping, so I could like put up a fucking tent.
So you'll be over here, and her and the kids will be over here.
Yeah. And it's something I've like always dreamed about being able to do with our boys, and Rebecca, like just getting out into like the mountains and doing that. And yesterday, Ethan was literally like Eli, let's go camping. And like they meant to go in the room, and they had this little like tent thing. It's not like, it's like a little thing they can crawl under, and they got this little flashlight. And that's when I was like, hilarious. Oh man, this is going to be
now
great.
It's time.
Yeah,
you said the word.
Those are the things that I want to do. But we do like these little trips. But like as far as flying, I commend you on being able to do that, because that's really tough. We try to strategically find things that are within like an hour or two drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did a drive to Myrtle Beach 2 years ago, and that's I think 7-8 hours. So we split the drive and stopped in Savannah. But still, it was like a challenge.
When Grayson was 3 months old, we drove to Tennessee with Toast, our dog, and that's a
double-digit
drive,
right?
Was a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
It was, because he was drinking bottles at the time, so every time we stopped, I mean, we took 100 stops probably just to get there.
Oh, so that drive took triple the time.
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience, I should say.
Did you have to get a new, like, well, I don't know what you drive now, but was there a vehicle you had to kind of?
No, I'd had a Honda Accord previously, and I got a RAV4, so we had enough room at the time.
Jump into like an SUV.
Yeah.
Our thing, because the stroller took up so much freaking space. So much space.
Just so much extra luggage to bring.
It's a nightmare. But I do definitely want to make sure that we talk about this, where We talked about some of the advice that you received.
Yeah.
And then also, like, there's a little secret on here that I loved how you answered that. But one of the questions that I had on this interview form was, what's some great advice you've been given that changed the way you think? Mm-hmm. And you gave two really, really good pieces, and I'll start with the first one. You said the first one was when you were starting out in sales, someone you met made a comment that said, if you aren't part of the community that you're trying to sell your services to, it's not going to work. And you said that was really the moment that you decided that organic relationship building was the way that you wanted to do sales.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think stepping into sales was something that I never saw myself doing, just like HR, to be totally honest. But it was an opportunity, and it was an opportunity to get out of the office. And, you know, I think that first week I started the cold calling, and I was like, this shit is not for me. Like, it's awful. It just wasn't, I knew it wasn't going to work for me. And I went to this first, my friend Melanie invited me to a B2B networking group. And that is where I met the guy who was like, you need to be involved and, you know, active in your community for people to know and learn and respect you and then want to use your services. And I think that was really the catalyst of me, you know, joining a chamber leads group that I was honestly a part of for like 4 years. Yeah. And I think, you know, that was a little bit before you and I had met about 312 Millennials. And so I think that just changed my perspective a little bit about sales, because I hate being sold to like aggressively. Like it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I think that's why I thought I would never be in sales. So just learning how to do sales my way. And, you know, I was given, you know, maybe 1 or 2 clients, and I grew a book of business, you know, and it really was just through people learning the type of person I am, the kind of, you know, work ethic I have. And ultimately, you know, they weren't going to digital graphics because it was digital graphics. They were, you know, using me. Yeah. And so I think it was a really pivotal point just in me learning what my sales approach was going to be. And I think just a little like push in the right direction on, no, you don't have to cold call and you don't have to, you know, knock on doors, because I knew I didn't want to do that. Yeah,
so that gave you the encouragement to realize that there's like other ways, other avenues to take for sales. It's not always what people think.
Exactly. I think you have this impression in your head of like going to buy a car, and it's like, you know, what are you going to get? What do you want? And they're just like hawking you as soon as you know, pull into the driveway. And I just knew that made me feel uncomfortable, and I didn't want to have that same approach trying to sell print.
Yeah, no, it's super good advice, and I definitely like know that about you, to where it was just like, I remember you being so involved in the community and doing so many things. Like I was enamored by the fact that like, how does she have time to be at all of these things and lead all this shit and still?
I didn't have a kid. I did not have a kid or a husband at the time.
Yeah,
and that's what gives you the time.
That's that's true. Mm-hmm. And then the second piece also really great, equally as amazing. You said a few months ago, a friend was asking about your job, and at this time, his comment was, "Well, if you support and appreciate the mission, that's all that matters." And then you stated that this comment, combined with the material I was studying for my HR exam, was a pivotal moment and the exact reason I left my job after 10 years.
Yeah, so it was a friend's dad I was visiting. She was home from Australia at the time, and I was over there visiting them. And he was like, "Hey, how's it going? Are you still with the same company?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, well, that's awesome." Like, just impressed that I've, you know, continued to say that I'm, you know, still with the same company. And he's like, "As long as you support the mission," because he has been with his company for like, or I think he just retired, but like 40 to 50 years, you know, but he appreciated the mission. And so I left with that comment, and I think that was a couple months. So I was starting to study at that time for my exam, and then it was like a couple months before I saw Gary at the holiday party, the MEC holiday party.
Oh, because you're there
obviously
with Harry.
I went to with Harry. And so it, you know, he started, you know, having the conversation with me. He wanted to bring me in a different position, and I was like, just not really what I want to do. I don't want to learn like an entirely new thing. And yeah, I mean, you know, I think the mission of MEC is to empower employees and to retain them. And I think the employee appreciation is there. You know, I was able to see it with Harry.
Yeah, like as an outsider too, and then also have insider information.
Yeah, and then, you know, at the end of the day, where I was previously in the HR position, I just didn't have any leadership. And so I had no one kind of who's been in the industry for a long time to be like, yeah, this is how we should do it. It was like, figure it out, you know, maybe talk to the accounting department, play it off them. But I really wanted someone to kind of guide me. And I think it just all of that, again, timing was just at the right time. And then Gary called me in January. He was like, we just had a strategic meeting and we want to bring you on for HR. And I was like, okay, now you're talking my language. Like, this is what I want to pursue. And the director of HR has been in HR for 25 years. And so now I get to have this like incredible person to really pass down all this knowledge. And, hopefully one day I'll take her position and, stay at MEC.
Yeah, that's an awesome experience.
Yeah.
And beautiful how it all kind of.
Yeah, it was just really.
Good timing, good place, good time.
Yeah, my friend's dad just really kind of got the wheels turning, and then the test, and then, Gary calling back in January was like, hey, like, okay, now I can offer you the HR position that you were talking about. And so it was just really good timing.
I remember when you had because when we were texting about being here, you're like, hey, did Gary tell you? And
I know.
And I was literally with Gary. It was like a couple of days before that.
It's so funny.
And he did not. So it's good to know that Gary can still keep a secret.
I know. I told him, I was like, yeah, because your only response, it wasn't congrats. It was like, what the fuck? Gary didn't tell me.
What the fuck? Yeah.
I know. And
Fucking
I texted Gary and he's like, it was a secret. And I was like, that's what I told him.
No, he was good, man.
Yeah.
And I think like Gary and I are super tight. And those are things.
I love that.
Yeah. And then speaking of secret.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I have, it's not even really a question. It's like a statement. Share a secret.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, what kind of secret do you want?
I wanted to keep like the question really ambiguous. So people are like, what does he mean by that?
Yeah.
Is it something
and
I never
just see
told
how
anyone?
they answer.
Is it like a trick? Is it,
yeah.
It's like, I don't care. All of it, dude. So you said if this is supposed
I'm like, if this is how you mean this question.
If this is supposed to be like a fun fact many people don't know about you, then, so you said, I failed one of my last classes in my last semester of college. I think it was anthropology, and you still don't know what that is?
Nope.
However, the graduation party was planned, so it continued on, but I actually had to stay for one more semester before I could legitimately graduate. LOL.
Yes, it was very disappointing. My cheeks hurt from laughing. It was a very disappointing time in my life. So I was graduating with one of my roommates at the time, and I basically got a D in this online anthropology class that
what do we know?
I couldn't tell you. Okay, I literally might have to Google it later just so I now know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up failing, but we literally the next week had this big graduation party. And so all of her family and friends and my family and friends come into town. We throw this gigantic bash, and it was a great time. And then I had to move in with my sister, who was still going, because she went to UNF as well, Jessie, and had to stay for one more semester for one class.
So at the graduation party, did I imagine you did not let them know, or did you let them?
I think I was pretty open about it. I don't think it was a secret at the time. I think it was just really more embarrassing for me.
Yeah, that would be pretty embarrassing.
Graduated. Yeah, it was just so stupid.
But as soon as I read that, I was like, because I didn't know that you had failed a college class.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people
it was
would probably
the only one I failed too.
I
couldn't have failed it 3 semesters ago. It was the last one.
Literally the one that
the
had
last
you graduate.
One. Yeah.
And then one of the last things we'll talk about on here. You had talked, so pre-show, we were talking about your volleyball kind of thing, and how I knew you played volleyball, and I knew you were really good at it, and I knew you played in college, and then I knew that you, outside of college, were also a coach. I did not know really the level of extent at which you were involved with the team.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about kind of what your experience was like while playing collegiate level volleyball, how the coach could have potentially not been the greatest fit for you, and then how that made you the person you are today. It's a loaded question.
It is a long question. I'll try and remember all the bullet points in there.
I hope you do.
So I was really great in high school. I enjoyed playing volleyball. I, had a good coach. I didn't have real technical training. I just did my thing and I was good.
Yeah.
And I thought about playing in college, and this little college in South Carolina, Limestone College, I think, was open to recruiting me. And I went to visit with my dad, and there was snow and it was cold, and I was like, this place is just not for me. And I was like, you know what, I'm not going to play volleyball. So I applied to UNF. It was literally the only college I applied to. So thankfully I got in. Yeah, I was like,
destiny.
Yeah, destiny. And so after probably my first or second semester, I was like, man, I really miss volleyball. And so my high school coach reached out to the coach, and I tried out with 4 other girls, and I made the team. And, it was an experience. I definitely think it has helped shape the person I am today. But it was certainly the most physically and mentally challenging thing I've ever been through. I think, to start with, you have 3 days in preseason, and physically, I had never gone through that before. Yeah. I mean, you're just like, for 2 weeks, it's just constant. And so that was a learning curve for me. The level of volleyball that was being played was also just like higher than I had experienced consistently. And so I think it really like humbled me a little bit. And then, to add the coach into it, I think I compared it to like love languages before. Yep. She did not speak my love language. And she just tore me down, and I just was not in a good headspace. And I think the way she coached me did not help me excel and become better and learn how to play at that level. So it was really an experience. And, I think at the end of the day, I met 2 of my best friends, and we were roommates in college after we all quit the team, basically. And I'm still friends with them today. And so, at the end of the day, it was a good experience. But while I was going through it, it was absolute hell.
The worst.
It was really, really tough for me. It was really hard. But again, I think, it has somehow shaped and formed to the person I am today. So I have to appreciate, the experience.
Yeah, good. And do you think, so the way you coached, I imagine you were not that same style as far as breaking someone down to build them back up? Like,
I think it works, but I think for some people, maybe if I was recruited and I, felt like I was on the same playing level as them, it would be different. But I definitely felt like they were better than me. And I was just like excited to be on the team and excited to travel and just excited to be part of that community. But I definitely think you can't coach everyone the same way. And I think she could have learned that.
Yeah. Was the team good? I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pretty good.
I don't know rankings. Are they number one? If they're not,
I don't think we were number one back then.
Don't know, but I think that's awesome that you can take kind of like a not so great experience and then turn it into something now. And like I see it in you, like as far as like your mental strength, your fortitude, like your work ethic, the level of organization you bring to the table, and something that I'll try to end on, and something I respect about you a ton is your ability to kind of like keep these ideas that are kind of out in the world and contain them and then make sure that shit happens. Like you are like, you're the executor. Like you make shit happen. And I've always respected you for that skill and that trait, because that's hard to do. And then also like you have such like a graceful way about going about it. Like,
I try.
But you're not like, I've never seen you angry. I've seen you angry, but not like yelling. Like I could tell, like I knew your face enough to where like,
I'd be like, Shane, it's time to fucking start.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
the meetings.
Like the laser eyes.
I could tell by the eyes. Like, I got to stop fucking around and get started on that. That's so funny. I forgot about those.
I remember you're like, she's looking at me.
I got to look by Akaila. I got to go. But the other thing too, like, and this is important to understand. Like, so when I first met you, I had never worked in the professional capacity with a female, really. So like, it came from 10 years of working with primarily men on submarines. Yeah. And then integrating into this like now professional atmosphere where like women were colleagues and counterparts and whatever it was.
That is an adjustment.
Adjustment for sure.
I didn't know that.
So like you made me feel really comfortable to the fact that like I think we've always had a really good relationship to the point where it's like it's always been like bros, and I don't mean that in like just like a
I completely
masculine
agree.
way, but like very good friends, and it was always just like totally like transparent about the way we communicate. Like you understood my mannerisms, and and comfortable enough to tell me like, get your shit together, do that now, and get ready for it. Yeah. And I just really, really respect the hell out of you for that.
Thank you. And I think it's funny when Gary was recruiting me, and I like sit down in this interview, and he starts like, Akaila's a badass, she gets shit done, and like no one else knows me, you know, and so I am excited to like prove that to them for Gary so they can like, I'm still obviously learning kind of the ropes and their processes, but I can't wait to be the person that he was like explaining me as to, everyone else in the room in the interview, because I'm not quite there yet, but I know I will.
They're all waiting. Yeah, I mean, you get shit done.
Thank you. Yeah,
and you're fucking
that.
Excellent at it, and I'm really excited for your next chapter in life.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.
Super thankful about you spending an hour plus time today on this.
I'm honored. Yeah. I'm the first female.
You are. Right? And it was intentional for that.
Thank
you. Again, like just like appreciate your candidness and your just like transparency about being a parent and all these other things that like
it's not easy.
It's not easy. We took a lot of part of this conversation about it, but I definitely think there's other people that are our age that are going through like these same things. And I think by hearing that from you, like people be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so like this guilt thing is like kind of normal, and there's
just let it go.
Yeah, let it go.
It does you no service to like, I felt lighter after I was like, you know what, it's okay to say no. You know, it just is what, I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
And so I had to honor that, and it feels good kind of just like falling into that, and, you know.
Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
And I'm going to close this out now.
Thank you for this bourbon.
Yeah, was it good?
Really helped.
Yeah. Strategic.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for hanging around and listening, watching, whatever kind of platform you're on. We appreciate you and hope you took some nuggets about parenting or being a full-time, you know, in the workforce and being a parent, traveling, all the things we talked about today. Just appreciate you guys for that. If you want to follow or keep up with Akaila, I know you're pretty heavy on Instagram and your handle is the Love Sack.
And I will be back on LinkedIn because my primary role at MEC is recruiting. So if you want to connect with me, Akaila Sack on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll be back on there for sure.
So Akaila Sack on LinkedIn, The Love Sack on Instagram, and truly, Akaila is a badass. If you see her out or if you need shit done, that's your gal.
Give me a call.
Thanks, guys.